Hi, Be Inspired crew. Firstly, I want to say thank you so much for the support. We are so honored that we have so much followers now and the persons are viewing our videos. So continue to watch. We're so thankful. Without further ado, today I want to introduce you guys to a phenomenal person. Her name is Casey Hall, and she's here with us today to tell us about her journey. We are so excited. I am so excited to be inspired right now because I know I will definitely get something from this interview. So, Casey, tell us more about yourself.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I live in Washington State in the United States, and I am not so newlywed, but I like to think we're still newlyweds.
Course.
But I live with my husband. We just bought our first house. We're making things work. We're super like we're really adults now. But aside from that, I was born with a port wine stain birthmark, and I started my Instagram kind of as just a means of, meeting people, like um, talking to other people, and it turned into me speaking about my not problems, but like my experiences in life, and telling people it's okay to be different. It's okay when people ask you what's wrong with you, and kind of just learning what was going on with myself and helping other people. And it started out as birthmark awareness. It still is birthmark awareness, but now I'm getting into like a mental health aspect and helping anyone with like depression and things like that and anxiety, to help give them the tools to have more confidence in themselves, because that's kind of where everything has their root is. Honestly, I feel like by teaching other people, I've grown so much, and it's really nice when I hear people say, I needed to hear that today. And that's honestly, if I get one person saying that to me a day, I feel like I've accomplished like my goal for the day.
Wow.
I mean, like persons, when something is different about them, they don't really like to open up. Maybe because of persons are not aware about what you would call it now, emotions, or they're not really in tune with it. So when they're asking questions, they don't know how to really ask it so it doesn't offend. And so that's why persons who are different, for me, in my opinion, they are anxious about persons asking, hey, like, what's up with you? Instead of persons would say, what's up with you? Or why are you looking like this? Instead of saying, hey, you look different and I'd like to educate me more about or on this, if it's a birthmark or if it's something different from, what you would call the normal. So knowing that you slide right into the topic, perfectly, we would also like to know, how do you respond to, persons making certain comments, or, saying something unkind to you, even though, they might not be aware of it? How would you, or how do you respond to that, the conversation?
Yeah. A lot of the time I'll just laugh it off, because it is awkward when somebody just says like a really not weird, but like a really weird comment. I've had some really like interesting comments. People have been like, "Oh, what's the other guy look like?" Thinking that I got into like a fist fight with somebody. And I'm like, why would I be at work right now if I had this much like bruising? Um, but I just laugh it off, and I have to tell them like, it's a birthmark. Um, and I was born this way. I didn't get into a fight. um and sometimes people, once I tell them that, then they've heard what they said, if that makes sense. um and it's really interesting to see people kind of like have
A
the
different
the,
reaction.
what was that?
A different reaction to everything.
Yeah, yeah, and almost it dawns on them like, oh, there is something different with this person, and I probably shouldn't have said what I just said. And there are times where I do just get like the innocent, oh, like what's wrong with your face? And like those questions are awesome. It's when the questions are of like, are you having a bee sting or allergic reaction, things like that, that it's like, I know that the person's kind of just having a knee-jerk reaction, and I have to come at it from a place of empathy, because it's like, okay, how would I want to be responded to, especially after I've made a comment that I'm like having to think about later.
Question 1. What is my definition of acceptance and who is my inspiration? My definition of acceptance is learning to understand and decipher what makes someone different and what makes them unique, and learning to love them for it. And it's been quite a ride learning how to accept everyone and appreciate everyone for who they are. And I think it's definitely hard to not judge them right away. So kind of taking a pause and trying to get to know someone for who they are. And that's the ultimate way to be accepting, is to try and be people's friends, to get to the nitty gritty of who they are. And my inspirations are my mom, my husband, and other people who are like me, and they're different, and they're trying to help others embrace who they are, and they're trying to make sure that everyone like us can be seen and heard, appreciated, and accepted. Question 2 is, how has your experience been as an extraordinary person in an ordinary world? Growing up in a small community, I was treated like everyone else, so I never felt extraordinary. And I wasn't treated differently for my birthmark, but every once in a while I get a question like, hey, what's wrong with you? And I would just breeze it off and say, it's a birthmark, and move on. And I learned once I started working, that answer isn't helping anyone. Like, yeah, they know, this is what a birthmark looks like, but what is it? And so I started teaching myself and getting resources together about, what is a birthmark. And I eventually learned that it's a capillary malformation, and it's not that common, but it's also not that rare. It's 3 in 1,000 people. And it's nice to be able to share that with people and help others who, might look like me, know that they're not alone. And I hope that I can, transfer this information to people who look like me, because then they can know, you're extraordinary. You are, like, and, the rest of the world is just ordinary. And helping them to, learn to love themselves. Question 3 is, given that you're on this journey, what advice would you give to others? I think my biggest piece of advice is that if somebody can't appreciate and accept you and your circumstances, then you need to move on from that person. It's hard to not have someone in your life, but in the long run, if you have that firm support system of friends, family, or religion, then you will have all the power to you. And it's so important to have that support system. And you need to be your own biggest advocate. And you need to show people, this is how I want to be treated. Because if you stand up for yourself, people won't second guess, like, oh, I shouldn't talk to them that way. Because then maybe they'll start treating people to a higher standard if you hold yourself to a higher standard. And then question 4 is, what is your philosophy? My philosophy is still forming. It's kind of cheesy. It really boils down to roll with the punches and treat others the way you want to be treated. And you need to advocate for the better treatment of others, because if you see someone who's being treated as less than, then it's important to show that, you know that they're worthy, so they know that they're worthy, and it's not okay for how that person treated them. And everyone is worthy of love, compassion, and of kindness. And we need to show each other love and kindness, because the world's getting to be an ugly place. And if we can prevent it by just, treating one more person with kindness and respect, then maybe we can change the world.
You said you come from a place of empathy, and that's so important. When we are asking questions, we must come from a place of empathy as well. And I see where for it to be socially accepted, confidence will be built in both the person who is different and the persons who are questioning or want to have ask a question about it. And then it would be an educational conversation. So yes, thank you for putting that in my space, because as well, maybe for me, there are times when I'm not aware of our not coming from a place of empathy when I'm speaking or asking questions myself. So I want to thank you on that. So over to Judy.
One of the things that stood out for me, Casey, was that you said that you have certain tools that you share with persons on how to deal with a similar experience that they might be going through. And I think that is really amazing. I would like for you to come back again and share those tools with us, because I think so many persons in society, they're going through similar situations where they feel unique, and they don't know how to express it or to deal with it in that same way that you're so powerfully dealing with it. And I'm moved. I am touched, because honestly, you said that you're learning how to deal with person staring and so forth. I don't like when people look at me, but just don't like when people look at me. And so I think that is really amazing what you're doing, and I see you as this very strong individual. And I'm so thankful that you decided to share with us your experience. It was really moving. And I hope our Be Inspired crew will also see it as moving as well. So, Casey, I know more persons would like to hear from you. So tell us, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Casey Hall 9517, and that's HAUL, because I tried to be a makeup channel. And then you can also find me on YouTube, and that I believe is just Casey Hall 9517, HALL. But yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in for yet another interview. It was really moving.
So people, you will get her information. It will be in the description box if you did not get that. And just help us and support us and enjoy the ride. I'm sure you are enjoying this journey with us, and we are too. So Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.